Michael Jackson and fake songs. What? That's been going on for years. That's a joke. Take it as a joke. It's a joke. I'm a Michael supporter lifelong. You see, I got his sister hat on. Well, not completely her hat. It's mine's, but you know the logo, right? But yes, like, subscribe, ID in the Discovery Channel. Yes, ID in the Discovery Channel. The links are provided below. Get that Discovery Go app as well as that ID Go app. You might want to get those two and combine them together. We got multiple apps, yes, for even you, the viewer, pertaining to what you want to, yes, love and see in relation to Discovery. I myself, being a member, as a part of a team of many. I had to say that as in a call out. But yes, when it comes to Michael Jackson and the fake song talk, the discussion of who's fake, not who's bad, no. Who sung what and why on these albums? I remember this discussion way back, yes. The time period I remember, as in I was around, even myself breathing during that time period of when all this was going down. I in fact cried and was in devastation and grieving with even not just that, but his death, the man's death, right? To say who you know is to call him out, and yet I won't say. Yeah, so with that, the song. So, is that legal? That's the question. It pertaining to Michael Jackson. First off, are the songs fake? Was there any originality pertaining to the man's voice, Michael Jackson himself? Because see, the album in fact came later. Did the album or did it not come out around the year of 2010? He died 2009, somewhere around that time, and then the album titled Michael came later, as in somewhere around 2010, I remember, right? And that was a #1 discussion on the list of individuals saying that's not really him. See, because to be a Michael supporter, in which I have been for the longest, right, even since birth, straight out of the womb. But there's in fact individuals, yes, supporters of his that used to stand outside of his house as in look and peer in and peep on Mike. He knew they was doing it and all the rest, right? For years on end, that even them have formed up in groups and armies, Michael Jackson armies all around the world and the globe, right? Even as far as Asia and Japan, not too many people know that. I know, yes, even in Michael Jackson's world, yes, I do. Where people like to travel from abroad to come here, even from Asia. They know and understand who's Michael on albums and who is not. Even with this discussion of the fake songs and the talk with even that, right? And so I'm going to question that. Is that legal? Is that a legal thing? For somebody else's voice to be on a Michael Jackson's album, him being dead, up under say a label's huge label, conglomerate label. That's a huge word as well. Conglomerate, right? Him being up under Sony and then say them releasing albums up under his name, and yet almost doing it somewhat in the form of disguise, as in somebody else being there and not Michael's voice, right? Is that legal? I allow you, the viewer, to tell me, as in welcome with that sort of thing. The answer. Sony is in fact the landlord. For those of y'all that don't know, there's in fact Michael Jackson fans that put up fights with even Sony back then and still do today, even while Michael is in his grave. They in fact fight with Sony. As in show up on the premises, yes, a Sony and all the rest, and go head to head and toe to toe with even Michael. Because they didn't like how even Michael's situation, yes, was handled pertaining to various things and not just these fake songs. I know all about even in Michael Jackson's world pertaining to bodyguards and all the rest, right? Many people don't. And yet to bring that to awareness and say it's been planted as in a footing, my end to yours, the viewer, right? There's signs that were made about this sort of these issues with this. The regulation issue pertaining to the fans making enough noise over at the Sony headquarters establishments of what they don't like. Money being made on the end of Sony, right? And Michael being dead, and yet putting somebody else there to make it seem like it's Michael. There's in fact teams with that sort of thing. On a silent tip, on a hush low, amongst the Michael Jackson community. I said it before, I know all type of things, right? And so that's off the hook. Somebody need to snitch over the triangle. With that, I myself ain't saying nothing, right? But yeah, that in itself is off the hook, because this too points back to intellectual property, where I said even in relation to Aretha Franklin, where I mentioned Michael Jackson in her videos, and when people die, money, in fact, yes, still has to be made whether people like it or not, because see, to leave children behind is to say they're going to have to be fed as well, despite them being old enough and grown enough to take and feed and take care of themselves. I'm saying the legacy aspect. Just because somebody dies don't mean that you allow their legacy to die as well. You gotta let that thing to continue to be built, because even schools can be built off of that sort of thing. And I said that way back in 2014. Michael Jackson schools being established all around the world, and they should be, with even some of his funds, where some people in the artistry world that have yet to make their way to Hollywood can in fact learn, yes, and discern for even a Michael Jackson. I know his public relation tactic and skills is what I'm trying to say, and yet many other individuals, in fact, they don't know what Michael was throwing in relation to the gift of love and the PR work from his team and even Sony and all the rest in order to sell him some. Well, majority of the masses don't know how that sort of thing got down and all the rest. And yet that's not my position to come out and even say. I'm saying that's not my place. That will be a disrespect on the end of even his family members, his daughter, yes, sons and all the rest. Because they even got to use that to sell themselves as well. The marketing game of Michael Jackson. I'm saying to earn is to put in the work and the effort. Even in figuring out what I know pertains to Michael Jackson, where other individuals don't, and how he was being sold and all that, right? And so yeah, his children being left behind and all the rest. There's individuals, yes, that feel that his children don't deserve anything. His mother don't deserve. Why wouldn't Michael Jackson's mother deserve anything? I might not fully agree to what Sony is doing pertaining to if that sort of thing is true. I don't know. I can't really go into commotion with that. Whether that sort of thing is true with the fake songs and all the rest, right? I can't really speak on that sort of thing with Discovery, right? And so, with me saying that is to say, why wouldn't Michael Jackson's mother, why shouldn't she receive a dividing down of the pie? That only makes sense because remember, she gave birth to him. His children, they go in that direction as well. Because for them not to receive is to say they're going to be hell off with that. Not well off, hell off, right? Yes, Sony in fact needs to fix whatever they're doing on the late registration with that, as in what done happened before and is now coming out in the news later, despite it has been there already before, and yet the public is just now somehow seeing it, right? That's got me flabbergasted. How you rotate media continuously to keep even Michael Jackson, the man himself, alive, constantly putting out the same story over and over the years. That's what helps keep Michael Jackson alive, even in selling him, right? Same old story, right? And yet you still got to go to court with even that as years go by. But his family do in fact deserve the money, because I'm saying on the payout end of his children and his mother, despite whatever happened. Because his mother birthed him, and then yeah, his children being left, that's just common sense. Who don't know that? But yeah, so when it comes to, let me see, the fake songs and the public, right? The illegal aspect, because legality points with that as well. Some consumers, various consumers are not going to want to go for that sort of thing. To flip a model on his head is what I just said. There's many consumers that are not going to take and withstand that sort of thing. Things being released and it's not really true, or it's fake or something, and then they're paying their hard-earned dollars and funds with that sort of thing, right? Despite me saying what I said about, yes, Michael's daughter and his family and mother needing, yes, they should be allowed to, yes, get the funds. But the estate, there's somebody, in fact, over the Michael Jackson estate is what I'm trying to say. As well as you got corporate over there with a label in the album and all the rest, right? Consumers oftentimes won't stand to go for that sort of thing, especially if they're buying. They won't go because they'll say, well, the corporate hold on, headquarters sure is money hungry over the dead, as in there's no respect for the dead. See where I'm going with this? And that's what Michael Jackson supporters in fact feel with that. When songs are leaked, released, and all the rest put out even on iTunes, and the songs ain't real. The songs might have in fact been written by the man himself, right? And yet the vocals in the background, and possibly lead vocals, some consumers have an issue with that sort of thing. Because they'll ask, well, what am I in fact paying for? What am I paying for? Because then what that makes the consumer question the authenticity level of it all. Some consumers, that would in fact make them not ever want to buy from a Sony or anything else connected to a Michael Jackson. That's where the damage is done pertaining to that. When you put that type of stuff out, the story, that would in fact damage the mindset of various consumers, of them not wanting to buy from anything that has Michael Jackson's name on it. As in there being no trust there is what I'm trying to say, right? That's why Michael Jackson supporters hoop and holler as much as they do, climbing over fences and all the rest with signs, and breaking the signs in the process with that, the anger level, right? So it's alleged that 3 songs, Keep Your Head Up is one song. Breaking News, yes, Keeping Your Head Up is one song. Breaking News is another song, and the song Monster. Sony Epic Records released on Michael Jackson's Michael album, the one sitting above that I just showed, right? It displayed on its own, right? Those 3 songs are in question. So what the viewer on here watching me need to do is play those songs and play them back and analyze the tracks as in relation to even the album that came before that Michael, this album. You might in fact want to play those 3 songs, Keep Your Head Up, Breaking News, and Monster, and analyze the vocals as well as vocalization on that album. Analyze them and set them side by side next to an album that came before that album. And listen to the vocals. Because even some grown men, as they grow older, some people's voices go hoarse, right? Some people's voices grow more deep and yet beyond puberty, right? But what Michael is to ask him, what all was he doing even with his vocals, right? The changing up and all that. Sometimes his voice was deep and not many in the public know that sort of thing. He had a very highly grown man voice, despite him selling himself in the form and fashion of having that soft spoken voice. That was not completely Michael. That was just for branding aspects, right? Points in with Peter Pan and all the rest, right? So, yeah, we do want to, yes, analyze albums, various albums, and don't go back too far to say the 80s with Thriller and all that. You want to, yes, set the albums and the vocals comparison side by side with an album much more closer in the years to that Michael album. That's questionable, because even that will help see. Even despite Michael having medical conditions, even that would affect the voice as well, right? And yet people that were in the studio, as in the know, in relation to Hollywood, would know whether under non-disclosure or not, whether that was Michael's real voice or not. Helps to use a brain with even that. The case analysis is what I'm speaking on. Which is how sometimes things such as that, whether something is real or fake, sometimes hit the masses as well. With the explosion, as in when you work in a studio and you know what's there and what's not there, whether it was Michael's voice all the way or not. Just somebody there to set the candlestick, as in to keep making money or something, right? Keep making money or something is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, it's inconsistencies of the vocals is what I'm saying. Inconsistencies with that is inconsistencies with, yes, the tracks and how they surface, yes. And then you got Sony, yes. They defended, yes, stating all tracks were in fact sung by Michael himself. They're going to in fact do that sort of thing. Sony defending what's real, what's not real, as well as even defending themselves. Because a state points in with all that. Michael Jackson, a state, and the team with that, right? It's being questioned if the album's liner notes, you know what that sort of thing is? It's within the album. The notes that you see I like to say linear notes, but it's liner notes, liner notes. You can say liner notes, liner notes, or linear, but yes, the liner notes, right? It's in question of if the album's liner notes, yes, are protected by the First Amendment. Does First Amendment point in with freedom of speech or what? Because see, to say that writing within the album, lyrics and all the rest goes into that, as in it being provided, the lyrics being provided within the album cover, right? So if it's being questioned that if those notes, such as the lyrics, vocals, and all the rest, yes, within the album, if that's questioned, that if all three of those things are protected by the First Amendment, is to ask the question of if any major record label is trying to protect their own end with that sort of thing, whether it's real or fake, on Michael's end. Did I out that or something? I don't know if I outed, whatever, right? But even a label can in fact protect their own end with that sort of thing. Say if something is not right, even in the contract or even death. When say something is an issue over there and say, because see, there's going to be an issue anytime you got a vault full of songs, right? It's all type of directions with this. If Michael completed some songs and yet didn't complete them all the way, say it was just drafted, would say, yes, how they call it, a skeletal or a skeleton, that's when a track has been somewhat put together and yet not all the way. The skeleton of a track is almost like the bed track, which I like to call it as well. Skeleton of a track is when you're starting to put a track together and yet it's not all the way completed. As in, you might have just the main vocals, but you don't have the harmonies and all the rest, and then other instruments are missing as well. It's just a basic to get you going, a draft, basically. Draft in a track. That's what you call a skeleton, because it's incomplete. It's not completely dressed, as in all the meat is not there, as in what the consumer is going to receive later, right? And so if Michael has songs like that in his vault, and yet the estate or whoever handling all wanted to package and put that out, is to say, well, you got uncompleted songs, and yet how will Michael Jackson himself, the man being dead, king of pop, yes, completely right, how would he feel them songs being placed out from his vault and yet they were not completed? He may or may not have wanted that sort of thing, and yet to dress the songs up a little bit further, despite the main vocals being there, his own, is to say somebody else is going to have to do that sort of thing. And matching the vocals up with somebody else that has vocals with his and tie that all together just to be able to complete the track and throw in sound effects and all the rest that go into that. It's like throwing spaghetti together with meatballs, bringing other people in, other teams in. Yes, and somebody that sound like you with even that. Because over there, they're trying to keep the legacy alive pertaining to Sony and the estate and all that. And then, making money for even the family, the mother and all the rest, right? Despite Joe Jackson being dead and gone. Papa Joe, rest in peace with that, right? But to complete out tracks is to say you need somebody there that can help sing the songs with even that, as in even the embellishment, where you're embellishing something that is in fact not real, just enough to serve to the public, right? I'm able to see into that sort of thing. But once again, consumers and supporters, they not gonna really be on that sort of thing for long, as in if it keeps happening, going on and on for years on end. And I'm thinking Michael wouldn't want that sort of thing possibly from the grave, which could be why the songs were in the vault in the first place. To not release something is to say you don't want them ever released. And yet to take it there, being a label or a state or whoever, is just to pull songs out with that. So it twists and turns every which way, as you see. I'm able to even hang with that. The twists and turns are even a story, right? The angles. What Michael wanted there? Why would they need to release the songs if they're incomplete? Could there be a lesson in the songs with even them being released? Could there be even a lesson with the legal battle that comes with that? Consumers hating that dying individuals, even a high caliber Michael Jackson, say consumer sensing even he's being taken advantage of from the grave. You want to question all at all angles and be on the twist and curve and with even that when I'm going. Because some people can't think like I think, which is why many of them can't keep up, and yet you should, and yet if you can't, you might in fact want to rewind the tape from my end to yours to analyze all this, right? Them vocals have always been in question. Yes, I know even that there's a lot of percentage, a huge percentage of even Michael Jackson tracks and songs in his vault that are completely incomplete. Michael Jackson has various songs in his vault that are completely incomplete, right? They know over there. Go ask Janet Jackson. Shouts out to her as well with the logo, right? That's because that points in with any artist and not just him. It's all type of soul ties and all the rest pertaining to many of these industry individual celebrities that they go unreleased with even that because they feel like that wasn't their best. They feel like that wasn't their best work, which is why the songs have been failed to be released back in their time while they were alive. To put something away in a vault is to say, well, this wasn't the best work of mine, so I'm just gonna, kick back and save that and not even put it out, right? That's not to say any label or anybody is trying to scheme. That's not to say that sort of thing, no. Because see, with the album and labels and all that and trying to keep legacy rolling and trying to make public and all that, remember a Michael Jackson name, is to say, how do you do that sort of thing if the man has songs that wasn't in his best interest, Michael himself, by him not putting those songs out, and yet you're trying to keep his face and name alive for years on end so that people don't never forget that he's there. That's hard in itself. That's where scandal comes in with all the rest with that. And it has to. How you going to keep somebody alive with that? Because see, to release all the old stuff that was already out is to say, well, we already heard it before. And to keep, because see, labels like to do that too. Take an album from an artist and repackage it but add more. Or take some stuff out and add something else in, right? Labels can only do that so far, right? The repackaging of the same album to put it out to the public once again is to know sooner or later they're going to stop buying it. Because remember, once again, they already done heard it before. And yet to put out something else new and fresh, which they haven't, is to say, well, man, how are we going to do this? We're going to have to first sit down, think, and put multiple heads together how to even do that sort of thing without trying to get over on the public while we're doing it. Because to keep saying Michael Jackson, yes, in the public, in the news, and in the mass media, even with the scandal, is to keep him alive. Not many people know that. You can't keep releasing Thriller over and over and over again. That ain't going to work. That's been played to the played. Not played to the grave. It's been played all the way. But yeah, these sort of situations as a scandal and you say releasing stuff and there's somebody else's voice on there and it's not Michael. This sort of thing does point a different direction pertaining to his supporters and fans, because on their end they were suffering and grieving with the man before he died. Because remember, shame is too how he died. Shame is how shame and embarrassment pertain to child molestation, whether that sort of thing was untrue or not, right? It's to say that too is what killed the man rather quickly, as in even, yes, he couldn't live with his own and himself in relation to people questioning if that sort of thing was true or not, right? To have that sort of thing playing on your mind and many people don't like you as in all across the world and the globe, is to say that sort of thing is going to kill you faster, you being Michael Jackson, right? And so with the shame and embarrassment later on, where you got these albums coming out and say his vocals were and were not real on the album, Michael Jackson his own, and say somebody else was placed there to sing or act like they was him on the album, is to say that's going to in fact impose shame and embarrassment on Michael Jackson's end all over again. Somebody acting and singing and not being him, right? Because that will be the question, well, what was wrong with the songs to begin with? The songs. Why didn't just put them out to begin with instead of having some other man sing on it, somebody else outside of Michael Jackson? And I just answered that question. If you rewind back, I just answered why. albums and stuff like that will be put out with somebody else on the albums, and Michael Jackson not being fully there even in harmony. I just answered it. Some people can't see and think this far. It's alright, I know. But I dropped that out for you, that if you don't know, right? But yeah. Sony might in fact need to go ahead and take care of that mess before it get even more deeper than that. Consumers and stuff, and them disagreeing with all the wrong and right stuff. However, I mean, it all depends on the individual how they perceive it to be. But once again, Michael Jackson consumers, they don't really get with that. They feel, well, if a Michael Jackson skeleton, as in there was vocals there but not all the way, if it wasn't completely right to put out, it's to just say don't put it there. Don't put it there, because see, for them, they'll feel, well, that's more of a disgrace to put out something on a Michael Jackson song, and that's not him. That makes Michael look bad even more. I can hear it, as in I have heard it, what Michael supporters have said. It like the man in the grave already still looked bad by people that hate him, and now this. That's a true statement. So, I'm on Discovery. Yes, we are in fact on Discovery, right? So the logo in fact hangs up above my head all the time, as well as hang above yours, right? And so, yes, live now, the killer beside me. There ain't no killers over here, let me tell you. So, Fatal Vows. Recommended for you, Lieutenant Joe Kenda. Yes, Homicide Hunter with that. You can add that to your favorites if you click here. All is highlighted. Evil Lives Here, Fatal Vows. Shouts out to Paula from my end to yours. What's up with you with that, right? Deadly Women, Red Rum. American Monster, Blood Relatives. Someone You Thought You Knew, and yes, The Perfect Murder. Unlike episodes, if you scroll across to catch a killer, all hands on deck, add to watch later. Twisted Sister, Season 1, Episode 1. Blood Runs Code. You can click that, as well as try to read and formulate in your mind what the description says. What lies beneath. Twisted. The Last Defense. Season 1, Episode 1, expiring in 21 days. The Devil Speaks. Deadline. Crime with Tamron Hall. On last night. I just said that one, didn't I? So all the stuff that was on last night. When you click the key, that is in fact to let you know it is in fact locked, right? And so to click that is to say it's going to want you to provide, yes, through your subscriber. As there's a passcode and all the rest, your subscriber, in order to get into that. Whoever your TV subscriber is, you're gonna have to use that. So ID Go Original Series, Pamela Smart, The Missing Pieces, Most Evil Ranked. Evil Lives Here. Women in Prison, Real Talk. Reasonable Doubt. I'm going in slow-mo, and I should. Some people ain't got nothing else to do but to watch Discovery. That's a shout out. Schedule preview. See the time. That right there is just like it is above. Watch live. See that? Same. Crime feed news. If you click on this, it's going to take you to the crime feed on outdoors on the other side, and I don't mean swimming pool, no. It's going to take you to crimefeed.com. Yes, in relation to the news, whether it's everyday individuals, citizens such as you and I, or celebrities where all the crimes are committed, and yet it needs to be seen as well as shown, right? Newsletter. If you go down, you would, type in your email, and you would in fact click next and receive a newsletter with that. So I think that's all to be said for now. I'm dead and gone with that, so I hope it's been good on your end. As for mine. So let me know, viewer, what you feel about that sort of thing when it comes to fake songs, celebrity deaths, as them being completely dead and them not having a say so and a hand. Celebrities that's dead. What do you think and feel about that sort of thing? Them not having a say so or a hand in all of their estate and everything else with these albums being put out, whether fake or true, fake or real, fake or true. Yeah, fake or real. What would that celebrity figure about that? Let me know in the comments section. And I'm gone.